Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us here at HeatSmart. As I said earlier, I'm Lisa Marshall. I'm the HeatSmart Tompkins Program Director, and we serve Tompkins and Chemung counties. And I have with me here I see some other program directors from regional HeatSmart programs, as well as some representatives of some of our installer partners, and you'll get to meet them and chat with them later on. Just a quick reminder, we're all pretty used to Zoom by now, but do make sure that you're muted. And I'm going to present my slides, and then we'll come back for a quick Q&A, and I'll try to have you out of here by 1:15. And as usual, we like to stay behind and answer any additional questions, but don't feel like you need to stay longer than 45 minutes. And we know your time is valuable. And thanks for taking time out of a workday. So HeatSmart Tompkins is a community organization. We are a nonprofit. We make no profit off of any sales. We are just here to be a resource for information, for outreach, to answer questions, to give support, and be your guide. We are founded because we're really interested in climate solutions, and foremost of those is a wonderful thing called a heat pump, which we're going to talk about today. And I like to talk about what I call the 3 C's of heat pumps: the cost savings, the comfort, and the climate solutions. And recently I've added a 4th C, which is convenience. And because I've talked to so many people who need a more convenient heating system because they're tired of chopping wood and hauling heavy bags of coal or pellets around. So I'm adding a 4th C to my slides. HeatSmart Tompkins is really proud to be one of NYSERDA's clean heating and cooling communities. NYSERDA stands for New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, and they provide the funding for these programs. And I love looking at this map because here's Tompkins County, and we launched the very first HeatSmart program right here with funding from local foundations, and New York State decided our idea was so good that they were going to fund similar programs across the state, and now they fund ours as well. And this is just growing and growing, and now is a resource available to most New Yorkers, as you can see. As I said earlier, we're a community resource, and the reason why this resource is needed is most people don't really know about heat pumps, and if they have heard of heat pumps, they're not really sure how to get started, how to find a good installer, how to get their questions answered, how to understand the pricing, the benefits, the best way to use your heat pumps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what HeatSmart is here for. We're here to fill the knowledge gap. We connect you with information about the technology. We connect you with the incentives that are available to help pay for the technology, and we connect you with trusted installers that we have carefully vetted through our process in terms of the equipment that they install, the customer service that they can provide, the insurance they carry, the way they treat their employees, and the fact that they're willing to meet all of HeatSmart's standards and requirements. So that's what you get by being involved with the HeatSmart program. Why do we need clean heating and cooling? Well, we are working in New York very hard to figure out how to reduce our climate impact, and we now have a law called the CLCPA, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And that requires us as a state to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And you can see in this handy chart where those emissions come from, and 30% come from buildings. So the HeatSmart program exists. There's some people in the waiting room, Nina, if you could let them in. The HeatSmart program exists to tackle the emissions coming from New York's buildings. And in our case, we're particularly focused on homes. So how do we use energy in our homes? Well, this is from Minnesota, not New York, but it's pretty similar to New York. So about 55% of that is heating and air conditioning. Out of that 55%, it's about 54% heating and maybe 1% air conditioning. So it's really a heating issue, and that's why we focus on that. And also notice this 15%, or in New York, I've read different numbers between 17 and 20% for heating water. And that's really important too. And we focus on those mostly in our HeatSmart program, and figuring out how to reduce the emissions from those sources. In short, what are our recommendations? Well, anytime you're thinking about heating and cooling, you have to think about what is the building that is being heated and cooled, and can it keep that cool air or that warm air inside so that you can enjoy it once you've produced it, because it's very inefficient to be producing warm air or cool air and letting it go right out the window, so to speak, some cases literally. So we recommend that everybody have an energy audit where you look at your building's envelope and see where improvements can be made. Secondly, and this is what we mostly talk about, is the space heating and cooling, and we recommend heat pumps. There are several different kinds, and we're going to talk about those, but the two main categories are air source heat pumps and ground source heat pumps. And then also there's heat pump technologies that can heat your domestic hot water, like we mentioned in the previous slide, that could be 15 to 20% of your home's energy use. So what is a heat pump? Heat pumps, we like to say, are magic. It's not really magic, it's physics, but it feels like magic. And you already have a heat pump in your home. It's in your refrigerator. So your refrigerator works with a refrigeration loop. A refrigerant chemical is inside that loop, and this is a chemical that has the properties that that it does a really dramatic phase change when you either condense it or you expand it under lower pressure or higher pressure. And when it goes through that phase change, it either absorbs heat from the environment or it gives off heat. And that little physics magic is what makes the heat pump operate, what makes the inside of your refrigerator cold, or what makes you able to use heat from the outside environment or from the ground to heat or cool your house. Next slide. Okay, so this slide just summarizes why we're so pumped about heat pumps. They are super duper energy efficient, and that is because, as I said in the previous slide, they're not creating the heat. They're taking heat that already exists in the outside air or in the ground and using that refrigeration technology to make it usable in your house, or to take the heat out of your house and expel it into the outside environment in the case of cooling. And because of that, they are incredibly efficient, and they're using the free heat energy that comes from the sun. Also, they can be renewable if you're running them on electricity that is from a renewable source. So as I said, they use this refrigeration technology that utilizes the free heat in the environment. They can heat and cool. And as they're running, and this is especially important in the summer, they can dehumidify the air as they're running and cooling, and that has a really dramatic effect on your air quality and your comfort. They can also be used to heat hot water. They can improve your indoor air quality by both filtering the air as well as dehumidifying the air. And very important to many of us, if you currently heat with propane, oil, or electric resistance, switching to a heat pump will dramatically reduce your energy bills. I want to go to the next slide. There it is. Oh, and I think at this point, I'm going to try something new, which I haven't done before, and I forgot to do it earlier. Which is to launch a poll during our webinar. And I'll just give you a few seconds to take this poll. And this is going to ask you, what is your current heating fuel? So I'm going to launch the poll and give you guys a chance to answer. Terrific. So we have quite a mix of fuels in this meeting. And as you can see, I just mentioned earlier that if you had a heat pump, you would dramatically save if you were using propane or oil. or electric resistance heating. And so there's quite a number of you who that applies to. Those of us who still have gas, it's really great to convert to heat pumps for a number of reasons, but at this moment in time, we can't make a cost argument for converting to heat pumps if you're heating with gas. Okay, that was fun. I've never done one of those polls before. Okay, so heat pumps, it's one technology, which is this refrigeration technology, but it has multiple applications, as I've mentioned before. And this just shows you that there's several different kinds. Ground source heat pumps can provide your space heating and cooling and your water heating. Air source heat pumps can heat and cool your space. And heat pump water heaters can heat your hot water. And this is basically like an electric water heater with this little heat pump guy that sits on top. Okay, I'll just briefly cover each of those. So ground source heat pumps are what I like to think of as the gold standard. These are the most efficient heat pump systems that you can have. They're the longest lasting. They're really, really amazing. What happens is we put these heat exchange loops in the ground, or heat collection loops in the ground. They have inside them water with a little antifreeze so they don't freeze, and they're totally enclosed, so that's not going into the environment. They can be laid in long trenches like in the picture, or you can do a vertical borehole as well. And that the ground is about 50 degrees all year round, which is what gives you that efficiency. So that water is heated up in the ground, brought inside. This is the actual heat pump itself with the refrigerant loop in it. And this is showing a forced air system. So that heats up air in the heat pump, and then it's distributed out to the house through this ductwork, but it could also be in a hot water system as well. And because, as you can see, there's a lot of labor that goes into installing one of these, it's fairly disruptive process, and it's fairly expensive. So it is definitely the cheapest to operate and the longest lasting, but they are not the cheapest to install. What's happening here? Air source heat pumps are the other main option. There are several kinds of air source heat pumps, but what you may most often see are these so-called ductless mini splits, which you might have seen just used as air conditioners. This is the outdoor condenser and refrigerant lines run from this to these indoor heads, which are mounted up on a wall like this, or sometimes on the floor. There's also some pretty cool ones that look like picture frames, that they can also be ducted through other distribution systems, but this is what you most commonly see. And they are also quite efficient, but they're at their most efficient when the temperatures outside are sort of moderate. They will operate perfectly well down to very cold temperatures. And of course, they're less efficient when they operate at those cold temperatures, because it's just a lot of work for the machine to do to extract enough heat energy out of -13 air to make the inside of your house 68 degrees. But these are really handy because they're incredibly adaptable. They don't rely on your existing heat distribution system. You can put them almost anywhere. You can put them in an outbuilding, you can put them in a garage, you can put them in a spare room, or you can do a whole home system that relies on these ductless mini splits. And the heat pump water heaters, just want to give them their own slide because they never get enough attention. But as we said, that the heating water could be 20% of your home's energy use. And these could be up to 3 times more efficient than a standard water heater. They have low operating costs, and they aren't for everyone. They are best situated in a semi-conditioned basement. Because they are a heat pump, they are taking heat energy out of the air. So you wouldn't want them to be taking heat energy out of the air in a space that you were living in and trying to keep warm. You'd be working against yourself. They also can be a little bit noisy, so you wouldn't want them right in a living space, like behind a louvered door in a utility room, for example. Also, because they have the heat pump that sits on top of the heat of the water heater, they are a little bit taller, than a standard water heater. So they aren't the right solution for every home, but they are a tremendously great solution for a lot of homes. And there's some great incentives that help offset the cost of these units and make them really attractive to a lot of folks. All right. Why is my slide not advancing? There we go. So I mentioned the cost savings. This is from 2017 and might not be completely accurate with current fuel costs. And of course, the cost of electricity varies depending on where you live. But this gives you a pretty good idea of the annual heating costs using different fuels. This would be for a house, all of these for the same heating load. So for a house with the same heating load. So in this case, it's showing how expensive propane is, for one thing, and electric baseboards as well. And then all the way down here, these cheapest ones are air source heat pump, ground source heat pump, and on the bottom is the wood stove, which of course can be free if you're chopping your own wood. It does vary a little bit. I have seen people go from gas heat to an air source heat pump, and they did not find that they saw any cost savings. So it's going to depend on how you use your system and how well insulated your house is, and how well designed your heat pump system is. But this gives you a general idea. The main takeaway I want you to get from this is that the question in your mind, if you're still heating with propane or oil or electric baseboards, isn't can I afford heat pumps? It should be really, can I afford to keep heating the way I am? And clearly the answer is no, because a heat pump system will quickly pay for itself if this is the kind of energy bills that you're seeing now in the $3,000 to $4,000 range, or even $2,500 range a year. For those folks, the sooner you switch over to a heat pump system, the sooner you start to appreciate those energy savings. All right, so I mentioned that there are incentives available to help pay for the things that HeatSmart recommends, and I'll just quickly talk about some tremendous grants we have for insulation and air sealing for people who are income qualified. So right now you can get $10,000 grant for insulation and air sealing if you qualify for the Empower program. You can get a $5,000 matching grant if you qualify for assisted home performance, and it's temporarily, that is everyone earning to below 120% of median income, which is most people. So most people in New York right now could get a $5,000 matching grant. What matching grant means is, say the insulation job were $6,000 total, you would pay $3,000, and assisted home performance would pay $3,000 to match that. You may be able to get an additional grant through the Finger Lakes Climate Fund, and I meant to put on this slide, but I didn't, I apologize. There is a program for those of us who don't qualify for these income-based programs called Comfort Home. And just let me know if you're interested in learning more about Comfort Home, or you can find a fact sheet on it on our website. There's also rebates available from the utilities for air source and ground source heat pumps, and those are available to everybody, and they'll be available for the next 4 years at least. And so, as you can see, they can take anywhere from, $2,500 to $9,000 or $10,000 off the ticket price of your system that's being installed. And then also there's a federal tax credit for ground source heat pumps that was extended from last year by Congress at the 9th hour. So, and obviously you have to owe federal taxes to take advantage of a tax credit. However, if you don't owe enough federal taxes, you can amortize that credit over several years. So don't feel like you can't use it. I'm not going to talk about these more now because I want to get to the heat pump study. So New York has a great climate law, and now we have to reduce emissions. And we have this great technology of heat pumps. Problem, a lot of people can't afford heat pumps. What is the solution? New York is trying to figure out how to create solid policy that allows everybody to affordably and equitably put heat pumps in their home. So enter the heat pump demonstration pilot study. This is a study to put greatly reduced cost heat pumps into 500 income qualified homes in New York, and to learn from this study what those homeowners need, what worked for them, what the barriers to getting a heat pump were, whether their homes were well enough insulated or could be well enough insulated, whether they, lots and lots, how much energy savings the heat pumps gave them, how much cost savings the heat pumps gave them. And so this is a really great short-term opportunity if you qualify, and here are the qualifying things right on this list, to get a very reduced cost heat pump system. There's only $5 million set aside for this study. And so once the money is gone, it's gone. It's not a program. It won't get refunded. It's just a study. So if you're interested and if you qualify, I encourage you to enroll today and start to find out if this, if you can join the study. And as I just want to emphasize, the two main things are you have to be heating with a fuel that is not gas, and your heating system has to be more than 5 years old. You have to income qualify, and your installation has to either be efficient enough to make a heat pump worthwhile for you, or be able to be made efficient with the funds for the installation that I just mentioned. So this is the big question everybody wants to know if they income qualify. You have to either qualify for one of these programs, Empower or Assisted Home Performance. So household size is how many people live in your household. And then you can see these income limitations. It doesn't stop at households of 5. If you have a household of 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, just let me know and I can happily tell you what the cutoff is. I just stopped it at 5 because that covers the majority of households that we see, but certainly not all. I get calls from people with 7 or 8 people in their household, and then the income limits keep going up. All right, so here's some examples. This is a person who lives in a mobile home in Chemung County, and they got a proposal from one of our installer partners for insulation and air sealing through Empower. They qualified for Empower. And so they got a proposal that was about $12,500 worth of insulation, air sealing, and other upgrades, like properly vent their dryer and put this hatch door in. And the cost to them in this proposal is 0, which is nice. Also for heating and cooling through the heat pump study, they were proposed a ductless mini split system with 4 indoor heads. And the retail cost of that system would have been $21,600. And the cost to this customer through Empower, through the heat pump study, is 0. But of course, not everybody in the heat pump study is going to get a free system. So here's another customer, and I'm going to show you that this customer, this is a young family in an old farmhouse in Tompkins County. They qualified for Assisted Home Performance, and they got 2 different proposals from their installer who visited them. One for air source heat pumps. So that retail cost of that system was between $16,000 and $17,000. The normal rebate that all of us qualify for was this $3,890. And the heat pump study grant was another $5,835. And so the total retail cost to this customer was $6,949. And I'm not including on here, they also could get a $300 federal tax credit. Not a big difference, but something. But they also got a second proposal for a ground source heat pump system. This is again for the same family, the same home. So as you can see, it's a pretty daunting upfront cost for most of us, at almost $40,000. And here's the NYSEG rebate that everyone can get, which knocked a nice hefty $7,150 off that price. But here's the heat pump study grant, the pilot study grant, another $16,340. So the upfront cost to this family for this system is $13,685. But they owe federal taxes, so they would be able to take that 26% federal tax credit. So their actual cost is going to end up being only $10,126, which when they looked at both proposals, whoops, let me go back. So this was almost 7,000 and this was just about 10,000. So they decided, well, for a $3,000 difference in their upfront cost, which they can finance, they would rather have the more efficient, longer lasting system. They plan to stay in their home a long time, and they felt that the extra investment would be worth it to them. And also that they felt good about this having a more efficient system that was, better for planet Earth. So that's what they're going to go with. They also, since they qualify for assisted home performance, also qualify for this $5,000 matching grant for insulation. So if their home needs insulation, they can take advantage of that grant, and they can also get financing. So here's the options for financing for these home improvements. There's loans through Green Jobs Green New York, and that is available to everyone, but the interest rate is very different depending on your income. So for the family that I just talked about, they can borrow the money at 3.99%. If you're not income qualified, that could be up around 7.5%. Also, Alternatives Federal Credit Union offers energy efficiency loans, and our installers also offer financing through Enerbank. So there's various plans and interest rates, which I did not dissect here, but you can talk to your installer about what they do offer. So that's about the end of my presentation. We'll go to Q&A, and I'll introduce the installers who are on the call. If you want to get started with us, the process, what we call the process is enrollment, which just means going to our website, finding where it says enroll, and filling out a very short and simple form where you select, you give us some information, you select what installer you'd like to hear from. And then I send that lead out to the installer and they follow up with you. And if you're not in Tompkins or Chemung County, you can find your local HeatSmart program at our landing page, getheatsmart.org, which will direct you to the program near you. And I just I'm looking forward to introducing you now to our installer partners. We have 3 partners, Heat Pump Specialist Daily Geothermal, who for the heat pump study are partnered with home performance company called Fair Hands LLC. We have Halco Energy, and that's a one-stop shop. They do insulation, air sealing, heat pumps, ground source, air source, solar, plumbing, you name it. And NP Environmental, who are also heat pump specialists, and they are partnered for the heat pump study with a company called Upstate Spray Foam out of Syracuse. So that's it for me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up to questions. Well, actually, I'm not going to open it to questions. I lied. I'm going to introduce our installer partners is what I meant to do. And we have with us today, I see Matt Dennis from Halco Energy. So I'll call on you, Matt, to go first.
Hello, my name is Matt with Halco Energy. So tell you a little bit about Halco and what we do. We are, as Lisa said, we do just about everything. We are a whole home performance energy contractor. We focus on the house as a whole. So we're looking at how do we make the home more efficient, and as the house is a system, because it is very much a system. Every piece and part of your home works together. So we want to basically come in and see what does it take to make the home more efficient. Soup to nuts, we handle it all. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have a dedicated service department of about 50 people that are available 24 hours a day. If you call us at any time, day or night, literally 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning, a real life person answers the phone. It's not a leave a message, we'll get back to you on Monday. We're not a 9-to-5 outfit. We're always there for you. We've been part of the HeatSmart program with HeatSmart Tompkins from the beginning. We're partnered in with several other HeatSmart programs throughout the territory that we service throughout Central New York, through the 26 counties that we work in. And You know, and after 30, you know, we've been in business since 1984. So we've been around the block. And when it comes to home performance, home energy, you know, heating, plumbing, electric, you name it, we've got it figured out, and we've got it down to a pretty good science. But you know, like I said, because your house behaves differently, every home is different, every house behaves differently. So, you know, looking at the house as a system and the house as a whole is really important, and that's what we really specialize in. And we're happy to be a part of this program. We're happy to work with this pilot heat pump pilot program, which we are right now. I believe we're leading in the entire state as far as really taking advantage of and helping folks to take advantage of that program and really make a difference in their homes. So just so you know, there is a lot of paperwork involved with this stuff, but we handle that for you. You don't have to do anything. You just have to sign stuff. There is a litany of paperwork behind the scenes that you thankfully never have to see. We handle all that for you. We're very good at paperwork as well. So.
That's going to be Halco's new tagline.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much, Matt. And next, I want to introduce Leah Daly of Daly Geothermal. Yes, the Daly family. It's a family business owned and operated. And Leah is the woman behind the crews that make it all work. Nope. I'm going to introduce Ryan Daly, who is signed in as Leah.
Sorry about that. She just texted me and said, "You're talking, I'm driving." So I didn't know she was driving.
Okay, welcome, Ryan. Please introduce Daly Geothermal.
I'm Ryan Daly. I own Daly Electric and Geothermal in Penn Yan. We're a small business. Like I said, family. My parents still work for the business. Leah runs our office. 20 guys right now. We have 5 service guys, and we mainly specialize in geothermal and air source heat pump installations. Mostly geothermal we prefer to do. We also do small residential and electric and plumbing. We're glad to be part of this HeatSmart program. We're part of the Binghamton area HeatSmart and the new Finger Lake South program also. I always struggle with these, Lisa, when I follow Matt. It's just, you know how I am when I go after Matt. You set me up and I try to come up with Matt likes paperwork. We love paperwork. He kills me when he does this. We like doing geothermal. We prefer to do geothermal. We specialize in water furnace products. But we do a lot of air source and heat pumps, and the hot water heat pumps we do quite a few of too. So that's the gist of our small business in Penn Yan.
Thanks so much, Ryan. It is unfair. Matt is a very talented and gifted salesman, and Ryan is a tool belt guy. So, but you both are great and really contribute a lot and are really great explaining things to customers. So thank you. And last but not least, Nick Priputniewicz of NP Environmental. Guess why he called it NP instead of Priputniewicz Environmental? Nick, say hello to the folks on Zoom. Are you still there, Nick? We might have lost Nick. If you're talking, oh, there you are.
Here I am. We have high-speed internet now, believe it or not. It's the only reason you're able to see me. But when I first signed on, I was on the network through my phone. So is it working better now?
It's great. We can see and hear you. So go right ahead.
Great. So I'm Nick Priputniewicz with NP Environmental. We've been in the program, HeatSmart program, since inception. I actually, thinking back to the beginning of the program with Mark Whitmer and Jonathan, Jonathan Comstock, who was the director before Lisa. When we were asked about the program and asked to be a part of it, we didn't know anything about it. And now here we are, 7 years later, and the programs have exploded all across New York. And in the beginning, we had dedicated a lot of time, a lot of effort into these programs because we knew that it would be something good, and we realized that, you know, we're really good geothermal installers. We're a good mechanical company. You know, sometimes we can carry pretty good conversations with potential customers, but we needed some assistance with getting the word out, putting the information out there for this industry that, you know, in our eyes is just a spectacular industry. So with these programs and being in place for the last 7 years, we're glad we put in that time. We're glad we put in that effort, and we're thankful for all the customers that we've seen this year. And this is only going to continue to grow. So we're super excited. We're a company that, you know, we started just in geothermal. Now we do air source heat pump heating and cooling, heat pump hot water heaters. We offer different design services. We've worked a lot of different customers across Tompkins County and across New York State. We're part of the HeatSmart Otsego, HeatSmart Utica, and then HeatSmart CNY. So with all of those programs, it keeps us very busy, and we're just excited that we have good attendance when we have webinars or any other information that we're able to put out there. And we're basically here to help you, to assist you, the customers, with the questions that you have, any information that you're looking for. And just super excited to be a part of the programs and see what it's turned into. And I'm very confident this year is just going to be a great year for everybody. So if you have questions or you need any additional information about, you know, how you can.
So let's just see if folks have questions. You can either post your questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself at this point and ask questions directly of me or our installers.